Hello and welcome to my channel. Well, one of the ways we used to learn about stuff is by books. And, before the internet and all that stuff, I bought, I had books and everything. Well, the problem is that when you go to move or anything like that, um, books are heavy. Digital media is, you can store, tons of weight equivalent books on digital media if you want to store it. Before that, there was compact discs. They were using those to, compress military files and stuff like that, technical manuals and, all that into it. And that was pretty good because, a couple of CDs and you got all these TOs. I still got one around here, but I don't have anything that would actually play it, so you could see anything. That was, one of the advantages of that. But the good thing about a book is, as long as you have eyes and enough light to see the contrast in the pages, and you can understand the language, even if you can't understand the language, you can, a lot of times if it's got pictures, you can read the pictures. Now, this one is by Desert Publications, and it's more like a technical manual. There's not a whole lot of, there's some talking here, but most of it is just like what you would get from a technical manual, do this, do that, and all this other stuff. This is a better book if you want to learn about the AK. Edward Clinton Ezell, Curator, Division of Armed Forces History, National Museum of American History, Smithsonian Institute. This is called like a book review. I'm not plagiarizing anything, and it's like fair use. If these books are still in publication, I don't get anything from them, but I would recommend you would buy one, and they get whatever money's due to them, because these are good books. Copyright 1986, first printing 86, and the latest date we see here is 88. So I probably got it like somewhere around there. Alright, so it has its acknowledgments and all this other stuff and references. And then it goes into the history of Kalashnikov, which is interesting. And then Russian arms manufacturer, 1812 to 1917, so a little before what we want to talk about, but it talks about a lot of different stuff. It has illustrations, and pictures in here. Breakdowns. I think this is a pretty good picture of like a Cossack or a Russian standing there in what looked like a very cold weather. They start developing the Miles and the Gant. He goes through this, how they're trying to get cutaway drawing operating mechanism model 1891 Mosin-Nagant. I used to have one of those. They're very accurate rifles, at least the one I had was. And it shoots the kind of like the equivalent of a 30-06 round. Except it's got a big fat rim on it and everything. But yeah, they're very accurate. The Soviet snipers use it. Here he is. A soldier of the regiment of the Grenadiers of Foot. Circular 1905 in a winter uniform with his 7.62 millimeter model 1891 rifle bayonet fixed. I never had a bayonet from my Miles and the Gant. Now they had later on a version of M44 that had a built-in one that swung out. But mine, I could have gotten one, I just never did. I never got it. But yeah, look at this. It's mostly like a wool coat. Winter coat. You cover it up as much as you can. He's hiding his fingers. What you gonna do about that face? You need another scarf to wrap your face out so there's just a little slit sticking out. And you should need more leggings or something. Here's your bread bag or food or ammunition or whatever. No, it's got to be something you can get close quick. I don't think they were using gas right then. Infantry rifles, but I want to get to one part where they were stocking in here. There's another Miles and again. Let's see what's bayonet on it. Self-loading rifle. See, he goes through all the different designs. You know, they had Tokarevs in here, and what was that? Smolyeva, I don't know. I'm gonna butcher the name. I got Google Translate out and had it start speaking the way you would pronounce the words in Russian by a very nice Soviet lady that Boris knows. Yeah, they go through a lot of different, stuff like that. The first collision, and here you can see the Germans were using this thing in their Sturmgewehr 44, and the Russians were so impressed that they said, let's improve on it a little bit. Let's make it a little bit bigger. But basically the same thing as, here's a 45 Colt. There used to be one that would show like a 30 M1 carbine, which was kind of like our attempt to do something like this. But here's a weird, kind of like check round. And then here's a 30-06 NATO, I think, or is that 308? I don't remember. 7.62 by 51, I believe, is 308. But during World War II, we had 30-06, which is slightly longer, and it was used in the M1 Garand. But anyways, yeah, and here's what the Ruskies did, but it talks about, the development of that. Intermediate range assault rifle cartridge, nomenclature and all that. Here we go. This is a 42, it says. It's still not clear what extent Soviet soldiers inspired by the appearance of different Sturmgewehr, but such as the Hanel 7.92 by 39 millimeter Maschinenkarbiner 42. I thought it was 44. Here's the Simonov. That's the one I was thinking about. Tokarev. I used to have one of these. The SKS 45. Mine had a spike bayonet fixed to it. Not a blade bayonet. It was a spike. Yeah, you could just swing this thing up. But then I think the assault rifle ban was over or something. I think I got mine after. Those are also, it's 10 round clips. You could get, and I had a drum that would attach to that, and also regular 30 round magazines, but it had a longer lip. And it was just kind of weird how you put it in there. It's not nearly as easy to do as loading an AK. And so they also had a Chinese 20 round fixed magazine, and I wound up using that a lot. But it seemed to like 10 rounds the best. And then you had to stripper clip it in, to refeed it, basically. But it's sturdy, it's fairly accurate, and it shoots the same round as the AK, so it was a pretty good backup. Like I said, man, for a while I had a lot of guns, and I had backups for, the ammo, and I had, if it could be reloaded, I had reloading dies, and I had brass, and a lot of this ammo, 7.62 by 39, at that time you could import Chinese or Soviet ammo, and a lot of it was dirt cheap. I remember getting like 1,000 rounds of AK-47 delivered to my door for something like $89 or something like that, Cheap. At the time I was reading another book called Mel Tappan's Survival Guide, and he was talking about you should never pay more than 25 cents a round for assault rifle ammo. Man, people would probably slaughter a chicken for 25 cents a round ammo. But yeah, it goes through a lot of different stuff, and then it says the evolution of it. All right, so you got the first model AK, and they were talking about that. I wanted to correct some things or point out some things I missed out about the AKM, and it also discusses in this book about the Mahdi, Egyptian Mahdi factory. Let me flip through here real quick and find it, but you can just kind of like eyeball it. And like I said, it's an interesting book. It gives you a lot of detail. You never know when something like that might be important. Now, what kind of screw is that? How is it attached? Or what's underneath there? You know? All about the different parts. Using Russian here. Get to here we go. Light machine gun. No, we're getting close. AKM. See, I was mentioning. There's one part where they talk about it. You know, they're talking about the gun, and then boom, there's a long section of drawings and pictures before we have text again. Here we go. Modern. I'm going to read this to you. Modernized Kalashnikov. Introduction of 7.62 by 39 millimeter. Meanwhile, 700 pages later. I think this is the last one. This is the one where I had Google Translate do it in Russian for me. Also surrounded by question, as with the case of the original shipment of the sheet metal receiver AK-47 to the machined steel receiver of the AK-47, there is still no adequate explanation for this change in manufacturing technique. But upon examination of the AKM, it is clear that this version of Kalashnikov's weapon incorporated some significant design improvements. First and foremost, by reverting to sheet metal fabrication production techniques, it was possible to make the AKM weigh less than the AK-47, 3.14 versus 4.3 kilograms. 6.92 versus 9.48 pounds. Second, the AKM had a new cluster of components added to the trigger assembly that have been described as both having the function of a rate fire reducer and as a mechanism to prevent bolt bounce, to prevent misfires during failure of the bolt to lock during automatic fire. The Soviet service manual for the AKM describes this cluster of components as hammer delay. Use hammer delay. And the manual states that the hammer delay serves as delayed movement of the hammer forward so as to improve the accuracy of fire during the conduct of automatic fire. Since the AKM is supposedly more accurate than the AK-47, the Soviet engineers recalibrated their rear sights to have a maximum range setting of 1,000 meters instead of the maximum range setting of 800 meters on the AK-47. I kind of got that backwards. I thought the AK-47 had a 1,000 because it was steel and didn't flex as much. But see what I know. Quick recognition points for identifying the AKM include the sheet metal receiver with a small indentation dimple on either side of the middle of the magazine opening. These dimples serve as guides for the magazine when inserted into the weapon. Other recognizable features include the grasping rails on the wooden forestock, i.e. raised portion to give a better hand grip. The strengthening ribs stamped in the receiver cover. The AKM receiver cover is made of a lighter material than the cover used on AK-47. The absence of a gas vent hole in the gas tube assembly. The AK-47 has a gas vent hole. A small muzzle compensator to control the rise of the barrel during automatic fire on later model AKMs. Let me get this focused here. In the folding stock model, here's the one I had pronouncing too. Model Kalashnikov. I was repeating this one over and over until I finally was going to something like that. I had to pronounce it. I was going to do that in the background, but I have to have the other phone cooperating. And it's end of the month, and they've not only throttled me on the regular phone, but on the other backup phone. So they make it almost like dial-up modem speed for to do anything. You just get buffer, and we get taking forever. And then when you forgot what you were even looking at, you look at it like days later, and it's displaying a page. And you're like, what is this? All right. Thus the where. These stock bars were built up from several stamped steel pieces instead of being machined from bar stock as they were in the AK-47. Over the years, several types of materials have been used for AKM bus stock, four stock, and pistol grips. Thus, AKMs can be found with laminated wood, plywood, plastic, or nylon stock components. It is not unusual to find a mixture of such parts, especially on a collision automatic distributed outside of the Eastern Bloc countries. All these assemblies are fully interchangeable. All right, later on it gets in here and it talks about the wood that was used. Well, let's look at this here. It's talking about the holding stock. See it folded underneath there, folded out. Those weren't like super popular and kind of wanky, but it did make it compact. What are we looking at here? Opposite page about 3 views. The Soviet fixed buttstock modern. This is like modern. I don't know what the Vanyani. That's like automatic right there. Kalashnikov. This is the same 1972 AKM illustrated on page 146. The serial number is blah blah blah. Blah blah blah. Pretty cool, pretty cool. All right, let's get in here. We'll see a bunch of different stuff in here. Muzzle brake as opposed to a muzzle nut, you know. Soviet service manual showing 2 basic types of muzzle inflation. On the AKM left, basic muzzle nut, which serves to protect the muzzle threads that can accommodate a grenade launcher or silencer. Right is the muzzle compensator, which helps keep the muzzle down during automatic fire. If you ever fire one of these without any kind of like compensator on the end, like that Egyptian Mahdi, without just the way it came, without a flash suppressor at night, my God, the ball of fire. It's a big ball of fire comes out the end. It's like, talk about giving your position away. Jeez, man. I'd have to do that. I mean, sometimes you can do that if to your advantage. You can flash sight. You know, you can use the flash that your nose coming up to illuminate the area and also adjust your aim for what you're doing at. But there went your night vision too, if you had any. Because yeah, I used to have a bipod for mine too. You could get a lot of parts that were for the RPM or whatever light machine gun, like 40 round magazines and drum magazines. They would also fit the AK. You can't show those on YouTube. You can't show magazines. Yeah, I think you can show them in a book. I don't have this right here in my hands, my little hands. But I could. It's possible. But I can't show it. I can show it on a magazine. I can show it in a picture. All right, so let's get back here. Let's see here. Advertisements, you know. Belgorod. Different types of ammunition, designations and stuff like that. Let me pause this so you don't go crazy. Books have these neat things in the back, sometimes called an index, and it's kind of like Ask Alexa or Google Assistant or whatever, but you go, I wonder if they got anything under Mahdi, and it's alphabetical, and you look there, and bam. Arab Republic of Egypt. In the late 1950s, the Soviet Union, as part of its military aid program, assisted the Egyptians in the establishment of military production of Soviet-patterned small arms. This followed large purchases of similar weapons by the Egyptians from the USSR. Among the weapons that they have manufactured is an Egyptian version of the AKM at Factory 54, a facility which is now part of the Mahdi Military and Civil Industry Company. which is in turn a subdivision of the state-owned enterprise called the Military Factories General Organization. Mahdi-made AKMs are called Misr in Egyptian sales catalogs, and significant quantities have been exported. A semi-automatic version of the Misr has been sold in the United States sporting market by the American brand of the Austrian firm Steyr Daimler Puch. And they show this right here. The Mahdi Misr semi-automatic version of the AKM is imported by commercial sales in the United States by Steyr Daimler Puch. And then it goes over here, with its summary, about that. But it also lists, parts breakdown. I was reading somewhere that the wood that was used, it was an article. I forwarded that on a post that I did on my community page. But the wood that was used on the Egyptian Mahdi was imported from Finland. And then it was, built in Egypt. But if I could find that link, I'll put it in here. But I used some of the pictures in that post that I did on the community page. But anyways, yeah, that's that one. I won't go through all this one because it took me a long time. And like I said, if you ever have the funds or you're interested in any of this stuff, it's pretty interesting. Like I said, I don't know if they make these anymore, and if they do, back then it was, don't expect that price, but if you get a used one, where only, the most you got out of some idiot put their name in there, then, it's worth $13, I think. I got more than $13 worth out of it. Now this guy right here, like I said, it goes through more of, functioning of parts during loading. The rifle is loaded as follows. So it's more like, like I said, a field manual, technical manual. It was converted into English, Look at these prices. The M14 rifle, $7.95. The Beretta, $92. Now, if you like that, you thought that was interesting, let me know. You don't have to give a thumbs up or thumbs down, but you can let me know in the comments. I have other books that you may or may not find interesting related to that, and some that may not be, that are more like bushcrafty. But let me get the firearms related ones while we're doing it right now. Here's another excellent book, The Complete Guide to Compact Handguns. Of course, this is a little bit dated because it's more like in the 80s and everything. Here's another one that's somewhat dated also. Handbook of Handguns. This is more technical and, I don't know if you need to read that. And then we have, this is another one I read a lot. Modern Beretta Firearms, more kind of like a picture book and stuff like that. This was really popular at the time. People were trying to figure out about stopping power, and so that was a big thing that was going on, because there was the 9mm versus 45 debate. I also happen to have the San Antonio Police Department's, I guess it's training manual. But it's another one of those, here's how to do this, and this is what a revolver cylinder looks like. Yeah, the back of the time, how to clean a gun. Maximum range of projectiles, double-aught buck, 748 yards. Good luck getting rounds on target, on human target at 748 yards with it. I think maybe you're really pushing it at 300. But it's the maximum range, so I mean, this is theoretical. Like 22 long rifle. But yeah, a lot of these things are interesting. To me, it was always interesting. And they did a lot about what you did wrong. This is the way I learned how to unload a revolver, by the way. The way he shows here. A lot of the police training I adopted because after a while I started having to help them out with sometimes training security guards. But yeah, you put your finger through like that, you hit it like that, you don't catch the brass, you let that crap just fall. It's very important that when an officer is ejecting fired or spent cartridge case from a service revolver, that he hold the revolver in the vertical position. The muzzle should be straight up and the butt down. This position will ensure proper ejection. If the revolver is held at an angle, the fired cartridge case may fall under the star and be forced back into the chamber. This will make the star sit on top of the base of the fired cartridge case, making the revolver useless in combat situation, and possibly cost an officer his life. The ejection rod should be punched in the face by the pad of the thumb. The thumb action is brisk to ensure that the cartridge cases are ejected properly. See, this is called training. This is what you do. You train to learn how to use your weapon properly, how to reload it, accidents that could have happened, while you're doing it, If you screw up like that, that's what's going to happen. If you short stroke at a shotgun, you're going to have issues, and you're going to need some tissues for your issues. But yeah, at one time I thought possibly, I got out of the service, I might become a mercenary. Unfortunately, I read up about it and I thought about it and everything, and it's like, nah, it's all right. Let me try something else. Let me try something else for a living. Maybe it sounds interesting and it also sounds very deadly. All right, and then we have. Let me get this before I get too many. I told you I had a lot of books. Of course, we already had like animal tracking, but we've got game cookbook. I've tried a couple of things out of that before. This one I read a lot and used before. Roughing It Easy. This was really popular for backpacking and stuff like that. The One Burner Gourmet. That's very much like the stove that I was using a lot. So there you go. If you think any of those are interesting, and then I have a couple others. There's some that I don't know if YouTube will allow me to show or not or talk about, but Ragnar Benson was one that wrote a lot of books for Desert Publications about controversial subjects, improvised C4 and stuff like this. This is an interesting book right here. He's got another book that he put out called Soldier that he sold for $100. I've got that one. But Corporal Herbert receives a Silver Star. Yeah, it's a pretty good book. Anthony Herbert began his military career as a private during the Korean War. By the end of that war, according to the United States Army, he was the most decorated American soldier in history. Much of that was luck. He failed to be mortally wounded when good men all around him were, but a great part of his awesome record was a direct reflection of his soldierly virtues and talents, of a truly exceptional order. Those qualities made him, at 22, the youngest sergeant major in the United States Army, and eventually a battalion commander who achieved distinguished record in Vietnam. But when he reported and protested war crimes that occurred in his sector, he was relieved of his command. Eventually, Colonel Herbert resigned from the Army and repeated his documented charges in a book published in 1973, Soldier, notably bestseller that made him chief figure in a controversy that is about to be resolved in civil trial that promises to be epoch-making in its revelations of corruption and cover-up at the highest levels of both the military and the media of information. So yeah, it's you can read that last section if you want to. Club edition. Back in the day, I had this little stamp right here. Look at this. That it would emboss Library of William M. Mansell. Isn't it cool? I don't know whatever happened to it, but that was pretty cool. You could just put it in a book and sheesh. And then forever. I want to tell somebody to rip that page out. There you go. Again, I've reached my time limit. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about all this. And have a nice day.